What's up YouTube, Tech Guy Hodger here, and in this video what I'm going to be doing is going over what was announced at WWDC yesterday. And if I do look down, it's just because I have a ton of notes on my iPad. Let's see if you can see that. Can you see how much I have to read? It's a lot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split it up into two sections where part one, which is this, I'm going to be going over the Mac side of things, and then in part two I'll go over iOS. So that way you can kind of pick which bit you want to watch. If you want to know what happened on the Mac and the iOS side, you can watch both parts. If you just want to know about iOS or Mac, you can watch part one or part two, depending on which one you want to know about. So, and I'll put links of the iOS video somewhere around here or in the description, so you can just click to that if you're not really too bothered about the Mac. So let's get started. So WWDC opened up with Siri starting things off. It basically welcomed people to the event, to the presentation, and it made a few jokes about Android, about Samsung, about how it's looking forward to the next Samsung device, which is their refrigerators, not their phones. So a few jabs at Android and Samsung. Tim Cook walked onto the stage and welcomed everyone, and then he's told us this was the 23rd WWDC, and tickets were sold out in 1 hour and 43 minutes. That is amazing, seeing as how expensive the tickets are. So I guess there's a lot of people that really wanted to be at WWDC this year. So what else happened? And then we just went over the App Store, the kind of updates that were. He just updated us on the App Store, and we were told that there's 400 million accounts on the App Store with credit cards registered and one-click purchasing, and that's a good number to boast about. But I don't know. Soldier Knows Best also said this, but in his live stream. But I feel that you shouldn't really let people know how many credit cards you've got registered, because it's not. I mean, come on. There's not only developers watching this. There's a lot of people watching this, and it kind of makes you a target. I know Apple have a lot of security, but that's just my view. And so they said we've got 650,000 apps in the App Store, and 250,000 of those are 225,000 of those are specifically designed for the iPad. Now, it would have been interesting to also know how many of those apps have Retina display, because a lot of those apps are still not ready for Retina displays, and it'll probably take them a year or so to get all the apps ready. But it's nice to know that there's so many apps for the iPad. 30 billion apps have been downloaded from the App Store, and I think this is since the launch of the App Store, not in a year or something. So that is a massive number. And does that I don't know if this is a stupid thing for me to say, but I don't know if that also counts re-downloads. Like, say if you downloaded an app, deleted it, then you needed it again, and then re-downloaded it, or is it just unique downloads when one app has been downloaded in a unique number of times? But anyway, moving on. $5 billion have been paid out to developers. So if you're looking to get into developing, iOS is probably the best route for you, and because you get such big payouts. Obviously, that's not to one developer. That's just how much in total they've paid out to developers. The App Store is available in 120 countries, and they'll be rolling out in another 32 over the coming year. And then they just played a video showing how Apple and the apps that are developed are helping people around the world. It showed people with disabilities, how it's helping in teaching, and how it's helping in many other professions, and how it's making lives easier for the people in terms of teachers and the students in understanding their work. And then Tim Cook came back on stage saying thank you for the work you put into developing for the iPad, and iOS in general. And then Phil Schiller came onto the stage to talk about the Mac line. So basically, updates were made to the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro. Okay, so let's start off with them. And no, there was no iMacs shown. There was no MacBook Pro. There was no Mac Pros. It was just the laptops, nothing else. So MacBook Airs up. They're gonna get a third generation Ivy Bridge processor, which everyone kind of saw coming because Intel announced the new processors, and then it's gonna have up to 2.0 gigahertz dual core i7, and then which can get turbo boosted to up to 3.2. It's gonna have up to 8 gigabytes of RAM, 60% better graphics, that's on the MacBook Air and on the MacBook Pro, and then up to 112 gigs of onboard flash memory, which is half a terabyte. That's massive for flash storage. And then what else? USB 3.0, and then Phil Schiller said how laptops currently that have USB 3.0 have one port for USB 3, one port for USB 2. And then they said in the MacBook Airs and the MacBook Pros, USB 3 will be available and USB 2 will be supported within the same port. So it's just one port, and then I think it will just auto detect if it's USB 2 or USB 3. And it's getting the new, it's getting the HD FaceTime camera, which has been available to the iMac and the Mac. I think it's in the MacBook Pro. I'm not sure. Yeah, it is, and that's at 720p. And that MacBook Air is shipping today. So if you're interested in the specs you just heard, go to the Apple website, place your order. It'll be shipped out to you today. And then we go on to the MacBook Pro. Same thing, the third gen Ivy Bridge processor, up to 2.7 quad core i7 with a turbo boost of 3.7, up to 8 gigabytes of RAM, the same 70% graphics increase. They're using the new NVIDIA graphics, which is the GeForce GT 650M. And then again, USB 3, same ports for USB 2 and USB 3, and again shipping today. And then Phil Schiller said, let me make space. He showed the MacBook laptop line, and then he budged them over and said, let me make some space. And then he showed off a new laptop. It was under the covers, it was hidden, and then he said, well, you guys wanted an amazing screen. You guys wanted power, but portability. So then he introduced the new MacBook Pro. Now, this MacBook Pro, listen to the specs. 0.71 inches thin. That's as thin as the MacBook Air. And this is a Pro. Just remember that. It weighs 4.6 pounds. It's got the Retina display. Yes, the Retina display is coming to the MacBook Pro, or the new one. So, and then it's got a 15.4 inch diagonal screen, and the resolution is 2880 by 1800 pixels, which gives it a PPI of 220. That is a lot of pixels. The glare for the new MacBook Pro has been reduced. I forget what percentage it was, but it's just less glare. It will be shipping with Mac OS Lion, not Mountain Lion, but the apps that will be within Mountain Lion for the new MacBook Pro will be updated to cater for the new Retina display. And it's not only the stock apps that are getting a refresh. Phil Schiller also said that Aperture and Final Cut Pro will also be getting an update to support the Retina display. And if you've worked with Final Cut Pro, you'll know that on the right hand side you see the project you're working on. You can play it. That project in that screen will run at 1080p HD quality. That's how many pixels are on this new MacBook Pro. And also, they announced that Photoshop, Autodesk, and Diablo 3, which is a game for the Mac, will also be getting an update to support the new Retina display. What else? So now, and then he went on to He opened up the device and then he showed the inside, which was mainly battery and obviously the other components. So here's the specs. It's a quad-core processor of up to 2.7 gigahertz, 16 gigabytes of RAM. That's currently what I've got in my top-end iMac, so that is a lot of memory for a laptop. And then again, the next-gen NVIDIA graphics card, up to 768 gigabytes of onboard flash storage. That's massive for flash. You thought 512 gig was big. This is just amazing. Battery life, 7 hours of battery life and 30 days standby. That's near enough iPad territory, which I think is really good. 7 hours for something that has that retina display, for something that has that much power and the kind of stuff you're going to be doing on that machine. 7 hours is very good in terms of battery life. And then it has a SD slot, and for the first time it's got a HDMI port, and it also has USB 3, two Thunderbolt ports, and a headphone jack, obviously. And it also has the FaceTime HD camera. And then that was basically it. And then he brought on then they started talking about macOS Mountain Lion. Now, I'm not, to be honest with you, if you follow Apple, which is probably that you do, that's why you're watching this, if you remember a few weeks, or I think it was a month or two, I don't know when, I can't remember exactly the dates, but you remember on the Apple website they announced Mountain Lion with a few videos and a description of what it will have. It was basically that. They just went over those features, so you can just, if you've read that or seen the videos, it was, to be honest with you, pretty much the same. It just showed the notification center that they've got, which is just a copy of Growl, and then how notes, reminders, and iMessage and all that is getting integrated into it. And that was really about it, to be honest. So in terms of Mac, that's what was announced. Mountain Lion, they showed off something called Cloud Tab, where if you've got Safari open on your MacBook Air, and then on your iPad and on your iPhone and so on and so forth, the tabs you've got open will sync throughout your devices, basically what Google Chrome has done. And so that was the Mac updates. So my view personally, the new MacBook Pro looks amazing. Hopefully I'll have a picture up here somewhere. And if you saw pictures of it already, you'll know how amazing it looks. It is a bit pricey. It's around, I think it was $2,199, which I think converts to around £1,500, near enough. It is quite a pricey laptop. Is it worth it? I guess it is, but I have a feeling, right? By introducing this new MacBook Pro, will it not eat into the sales of the MacBook Pro? Not the new one, not the one with the Retina display, just the one that got the internal updates and not the external updates. So was there really a point of updating those MacBook Pros if you were going to announce a brand new one? You could have boosted the sales of the new one with the Retina display if that was the only one you announced with different screen sizes. I would have done that, because right on Twitter, we were having a lot of conversations on Twitter, and a lot of people said they loved the way the new MacBook Pro looks, the one with the Retina display, but because of the price, they're gonna go to buy the one with the internal updates only. So it kind of works both ways. The new MacBook Pro could eat into the sales of the current one, and the current one could eat into the sales of the new one, because people know that the current one has got internal updates and is pretty fast for what you need to do with it, they might not care about a retina display. I mean, there's some people that will get it just because it looks different, so that they stand out from the crowd. But a more tech savvy, a more purchase conscious, if you could say, person would see that I could go for the new one that's got the retina display, but it's got a massive price tag. So why not just go for the one that's got the internal updates, and that way I've got power, and I'm saving a bit of money. I say saving loosely when it comes to Apple, but it's worth it, I guess. And so yeah, that's basically what I think. If you're gonna get the new one, let me know in the comments. If you're gonna stick with getting the one with the internal updates, just let me know what you're gonna do. Have you got a MacBook Pro already which you're happy with and you're not gonna really bother upgrading? Because there's people out there that are not as geeky as us or as me. So they will buy something and then use it until it's on its final legs and until it dies in front of them, and then they'll go out and consider buying something new to replace what they had. Us, we see something and we're like, oh my god, I have to have that, it looks amazing. But most people don't do that. So that was basically the Macs, and in part 2 I'll be covering iOS, which is a lot to cover. So, and in part 3 I'll be going over what I thought of the whole event itself and what I think of the announcements that were made. So see you in part 2.